Tottenham, of course, did bring in Ange Postecoglou, a man who had a very unique style and previously won the Scottish Premiership twice with Celtic, even completing the domestic treble in his final season there. Ange would have signed his Spurs contract in full conscious of knowing that there had been another Harry Kane transfer saga just around the corner. He knew what was coming. He'd be asked hundreds of questions about it before he even stepped through the door. But he was presented with the harshest welcome gift not so long after, with Harry Kane, of course, leaving the football club on the eve of the Premier League season. It wasn't only Harry that departed the club. Also leaving was Harry Winks, Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer, Tanguy Ndombele, Ivan Perisic, Sergio Reguilon, while Hugo Lloris, Lucas Moura left on a free. Spurs did dip their feet into the transfer market, of course, during the season. They brought in Brennan Johnson, James Maddison, Mickey van der Ven, Radu Dragusin, Guillermo Vicario, while Timo Werner, of course, was also bought at the halfway stage alongside Radu Dragusin. Those new signings ended up being the core of the team in the 23-24 season. But the man who led the attack and the team as a whole was one who, of course, was Heung-min Son, who was named captain of the football club following the departure of Harry Kane. For Son, it was a moment for him to step up like he's always been at Spurs and ultimately become the poster boy of the football club. His contribution cannot be overlooked despite elements of it being criticised. He provided 17 goals and 10 assists during a season where, for a majority of it, he was being played out of position. It is worth noting as well, the new signings, they pulled their weight up as well. Brennan Johnson scoring 5 and providing 10 assists for the season, which meant that he actually finished in the top 3 for most assists in the Premier League. While James Maddison, despite missing a number of games during the season, still managed to score 4 goals and provide 9 assists. As we know with Spurs, look, with no European football to contend with, they made a rapid start to life under Ange Postecoglou. Despite, of course, Harry Kane's departure, Spurs would go, as we know, the opening 10 games without defeat, in which, of course, Spurs would be sitting top of the league by November. Even though Spurs only played one more game than the 41, it was an absolute crazy roller coaster of a season. He moved forward, and so did Spurs. Of course, they played out a 2-2 draw to Brentford the following day, in which Ange took the brave and morally right decision to substitute Christian Romero with a head injury after scoring the first goal of the Ange Postecoglou era. I want to know your thoughts in that moment when Romero does score and then he's immediately subbed, given what we have on our bench at the time, because it's an opening day of the season. I think all of us felt Romero was really one of the key figureheads in the team. Big goal for Spurs, of course, in the nature of where that game was going. Your thoughts on the way in which Ange handled that situation, because I think from that moment he gained a lot of respect from Spurs fans because, look, it was morally right. If not, it felt mentally right in that moment in time. Give me your thoughts on that, Tal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, all of us from the season before had really loved Romero. Obviously, he has that funny little streak to him that he still does. But as a manager, you want someone that cares for the players. And I think that is what we haven't experienced for a while. We haven't had that connect between the staff and the players and the fans and everything in between. I mean, health is at the foremost of everything. And we've seen again, time and time again, injuries, everything, fatal stuff. And head injuries are, super scary and can be crazy. So you have to do the right thing. It was just so ironic that he'd scored, wasn't it? Because you just think, he scored that goal, first goal of the era, and off you go, straight back to the bench. It was just a funny old time though, wasn't it? I think it's hard to even remember, honestly, because I think it feels like years ago, doesn't it? You don't feel like that was this season.
No.
It feels like so long ago, especially the Kane news was so fresh. And I think we were all like, who's going to be scoring goals for us? That was the bit that we didn't want. And all of us, I think the biggest thing at the time that we were thinking was the what if. We all wanted to see Kane play with Maddison and Sonny and having that front three. And that's what it was. It was what if those three together could be incredible and something special. So that was the bit that hurt a lot of us, knowing that we were never going to see that as a trio under Ange and this supposedly positive football that we hadn't really seen before.
The game will be remembered as well for the fact of the matter is that that's where Sonny, of course, led the team over to the away fans and started that huddle, as we know from that first day. He admitted actually after the game, Sonny, that he was still waiting for Romero's answer by text with regards to if he agreed with it or not, which summed up really the mood and nature of Romero. But Maddison was fully on board. How important is that, Tal, for you that Spurs do address that number 6? Is that one of the most pressing issues for you going into the summer?
I think so. A strong midfield really helps you win games. And at times that has really cost us because we haven't had that consistent partnership. I think if you were asking us this time last season, it was always, we really need to improve defensively. We are nowhere near strong enough. And we've been able to see over the course of the season that having 4 consistent players together that are able to build, relationships and connections with one another did you just hear that really loud car? Was that what you were laughing at?
That's like the Ange train just pulling away for the summer.
Oh my God, it was so loud, lol. Sorry.
That's the summer transfer window funds ramping up there for those that are listening on audio. They're getting ready.
Run into Tottenham.
Absolutely.
We've been able to see that defensively, if you play consistently with the same people, that they can build relationships, and we are so much better for it. And I think having 20 different partnerships is nowhere near where we want to be. You see those big teams, they are not swapping anyone in or out unless they're injured or can't make it. And us being able to change that, yes, there might be different games where you need someone that's better at pressing versus more have the time, whatever. Yeah, there's always slight nuances, but I think we really need to solidify what our best 11 is, help them gel, and have subs that kind of can come in, really change a game or offer something different when we need to versus specific teams. But yeah, having a strong number 6 and someone that is consistent is exactly what we need. And I think it will really help us long term solidify who we are and hopefully get better results as a consequence.
Love that, Tel. Okay, it's great. I mean, come over to you, Miles, if I can as well, very quickly on this point. Important to say, what do you want to see change over the summer? Would it be a case of that, whatever budget they're going to give Ange Postecoglou, that will ultimately define whether or not it'll be successful next season? Is it a case of looking to recruit some more experienced backroom staff around him? Is there a need to address this set piece issue that Talia speaks about there? And also, is there a need for Ange to be a bit more pragmatic in his approach, adapt slightly from what he's been doing? What do you feel for you is the key takeaways going to the summer, Miles?
So I definitely think one thing that I think, Matt, you kind of hit it on the head there, is the inexperience of his staff, and that's Mason and Jedniak. I think we definitely need, it's not even a set piece coach. We just need a coach, right? And I think with John Kennedy, I think the whole point why he stayed was because Brendan Rodgers said he'd only stay, he'd come if John Kennedy had stayed. I believe that's the reason why he ended up staying. So obviously he's a sought after man. And I believe that from what Celtic fans were saying, he did a lot of defensive stuff at Celtic as well. And that's why they improved and everything on that side of things, right? So I think coaching staff, he might need to bring someone in with a bit more experience. But for me, the transfer budget, for me, needs to be blown on the front three. It is so important to this system, right? I'm willing to wait until next summer for a number 6 if I have to, because if I have to, they've been inconsistent. But Benton, Core, and Basuma can play there if need be. But if you get the front three sorted and they can keep, well, basically what's happening a lot with that front three, they're not keeping the ball and everything like that. And this is where the problem lies with Spurs, and they're not creating enough chances and things like this. The front three needs to be improved majorly, because we can't go into another season, and I'm sorry, but you can't go into it with Richarlison, who's inconsistent, Kulusevski's inconsistent, Brennan Johnson is inconsistent. If Timo Werner stays, another one who's inconsistent, because then what it does is put pressure on the defense, right? Because it's so weird that we're going to sit here and say that we've conceded like the 4th worst, but our best players this season have probably been all at the back. Right. And that just sums up where we are. So I think, and even Ange just said a couple of days ago, and he wished he could have 3 Sonnies up top. Right. But this is where we are. And if we could, like, that front three has become so important to everything we do. So I think as long as we can get that sorted, I'm willing, as long as things change as well, and we progress, I'm willing to wait another year for